got a flat tire on our little off-road antics adventure, but yeah, such is life. Good morning, campers. It's the day after the Northwest Overland Expo, and we have camped in Bend, Oregon, in the Deschutes National Forest, and today we're going to utilize the time to go do a shakedown test on my new suspension setup for the Raptor, which we have not done yet. So we're going to dial it in, check out the settings we want for bound, rebound, etc. on the new Icon suspension. Plus, you know, adjusting where maybe we're going to put the front bump stops on the for the lower control arms in the front as well. So, because you can adjust those. So, yeah, we're going to go around and do that. We had a good camp last night. We got in here kind of late after the expo show and just picked a camp spot. Went to bed pretty quickly because we were very tired. Nick decided to sleep in the truck instead of set up a tent because, you know, he's Nick. Yeah, he set the car alarm off like 2 a.m. That was great. Thanks, Nick. Now we're going to get on the road, probably get some coffee, and then find some good roads to test the suspension on. Before we get started on today's vlog, there are some folks to thank, and I wanted to give them credit where credit's due. So I want to give a huge shout out to Tyson Carameros for helping me conceptualize this truck and the PreLander status that I wanted to make it. You can find him on Instagram at DoYouRaptor. Check out his awesome build. He is super knowledgeable and knows a lot about Raptors and is just a wealth of information. So thank you, Tyson, for helping me conceive this PreLander setup. I also want to give a shout out to Mr. Nicholas Bell. You guys know Nick. He helps me build everything on this truck, and his mechanical expertise is second to none. So thank you, Nick. I'm glad you work for Cheeseburgers. It's really a great help. and I appreciate you, buddy. I want to give a huge shout out to our sponsor as well. Off-Road Alliance. They have helped me in the past. They continue to help me now, and they were instrumental in helping me source all the parts I needed for this PreLander build. A year in the making. You can check them out on their newly revamped website at offroadalliance.com, and they've got a lot of stuff there. It's a litany of things. You can do anything from lighting to interior modifications to wheels to exterior modifications, suspension parts, obviously, camping. They really have a lot on their newly revamped website, and it's really worth a look at offroadalliance.com. Super huge thanks to Off-Road Alliance for helping me source all these parts and get this build made. Got the Raptor ready. We're pulled over to the side, getting all set up. But what we're going to do is we're going to do some testing with the suspension on the highway level, pull over, make adjustments as needed, and we want to try and get the suspension set up to where we want it to be for highway. And then also we're going to take it on much rougher terrain, off-road, do the same thing there. And I want to show you what we're doing to watch our suspension while we're doing this. I have a GoPro attached to the frame of the truck here, and we hope it stays. It's pretty solid on a suction cup mount, and it's pointed at the suspension so we can watch and see what it's doing. And we're going to be in the car feeling how it's behaving as well, and then we will go from there and make adjustments as needed. I imagine we're going to adjust the bump stops perhaps and dial in the suspension on the front shocks here on the coil or on the reservoir, where you can make adjustments. And then also on the back shocks we have bound and rebound adjustable as well. So we are going to make all those adjustments, talk you through it as we can, and let's get to it. out at the Deschutes National Forest trail area, road 4601, which turned out to be an excellent road to test the suspension on. So shout out to the guy at Overland Expo in Pacific Northwest who recommended this road. So thank you for that. We're about only a third of the way through the road, and we've been testing it sort of street level right now. Everything's dialed in for the street, and normally I run the truck at about 42 PSI on the road. I know in the doors it says to run at 38 PSI, but with the weight I carry for an overland rig, the KM3 tires, the new suspension, I've noticed that running my tire pressure a little higher is better on the street for me. So we usually run around 42. The heat and everything has brought up the tire pressure to about 45 PSI on this trip, and we're airing down to 40. Going to test a little further and then just try to make incremental changes as we go. And hopefully we're going to be noting all this stuff and providing good information to you along the way so that you can learn from this as we go along. We're also totally going to go through and adjust the suspension for bound, rebound, and also the bump stops as needed. Right now they're set to a pretty neutral status, and I'm going to go talk to Nick and see where those settings are.
So with the front setup, we have what's called a CDC. It's a compression something valve, and it's a single adjustment valve for the both bound and rebound on the front strut, and we've got it set on 3 out of 10, 1 being the softest, 10 being the harshest. And this is kind of our baseline setup to see a little softer on the side to see how this runs. We're adjusting the tire pressure down to 40 PSI all the way around, which I know is higher than even the door card recommends, but we want to adjust one thing at a time to see what makes the biggest difference. Now on the rears, you have 3 different settings. You have a rebound here at the top, which is how fast the tire goes down, and you want that usually about as open as you can get it. And then you've got a compression 1 and a compression 2. Compression 2 right now is completely open, and compression 1 has 4 clicks. So each click being a full turn, there are 7 full turns per adjustment. So we're going to try and test that and see how it does.
So Brad is currently learning to adjust all of his settings himself. So what we have down there, from the top you can reach the rebound adjustment, which is, as Brad points, right there. And that controls how fast the tire goes down. Now how fast the tire goes up is controlled by 2 different knobs. So Brad is going to grab the middle knob.
Okay, there's no middle knob. There's 2. One, you mean...
The closer to you.
The closest to me, okay.
Yes. And you're going to turn that 2 clicks, I believe it's counterclockwise. It'll have a little arrow marked S.
Mark, I see a mark saying H and an arrow.
Okay, so turn away from H. H is hard, S is soft.
Okay, 1 click.
Okay.
2 clicks.
Perfect. That's it.
Okay.
That's the only adjustment you're making right now.
All right.
So Brad, how hard was it to tell about how the clicks feel?
Not hard, it's easy to tell.
Okay. So as somebody who's never done this stuff before, if I told you to go 2 clicks on everything, you knew you could figure that out pretty easily?
Yeah, I think the only thing that would be just understanding what direction you're doing, what it does. Okay, because it's hard,
Yeah.
soft, right?
Yep,
Hard,
correct.
soft. So you just go towards away from the H or towards the S, whatever
Yep.
you're looking at. All right,
And that's exactly what we're doing.
All
All right, so, and then we've already adjusted the tops, but go ahead and grab that and actually push it one more towards S so that the nice peoples at home can see what we're doing here.
Can you
Yes.
see? Okay, so.
And that's one detent. So about every quarter turn is a detent on these.
So we've been playing around a lot out here, and we've been trying to incrementally change the different adjustments for the suspension and tire pressure and everything. And so far we started with the relatively high tire pressure, kind of street level, and gone down. We're now at 30 psi, which is the ideal range for off-roading with a truck like this. And then we've also adjusted the suspension level. So up front we're at a level 3, and in the back we are at a soft ratio. We believe we have a rebound setting of 1. And then the compression 1's at 6 and the compression 2 is at 4. And those are clicks, not rotations. But that leaves the back end a little bit softer. Front's a little softer. And quite frankly, so far it's been pretty enjoyable driving it. Very, very confident in the icons. And a remarkable difference in the capability from the OEM shocks, especially considering mine were kind of end of life anyway. So we're handling bumps and whoops and such we find on this trail impressively compared to what we would have done, a year ago in the old suspension. So far, very happy with this PreLander suspension setup that we've got going on here on the Raptor.
Well, right now we've got everything set very soft. And considering we're driving fire roads that are pretty badly pitted and a bit of washboard, it's not, completely insane, but definitely a bit of washboard. The truck is feeling buttery smooth, so we're making minor adjustments to just fill in those last pieces of the whoop so that we have as much travel as possible. The big notes I'm bringing out of this are that the truck is staying planted and it's not feeling boaty, or we're not getting a lot of float and a lot of detached feeling out of the steering. And we are filming underneath, and so we are getting good footage of the front suspension in full force, and you'll see a lot of interaction with the front bump stops. That's kind of on purpose. Because we're only running a single shock in the front and we're not running a sway bar, we're using the front bump stop as an additional pressure chamber for the shocks. Now, if you have your suspension set up with 2 coils or with an additional shock up front where you have more adjustability, then you may end up using your bump stop completely differently. But so far, we're very happy with how it performs, and other than a little bit of noise of that contact of the bump stop, it seems to be driving like a dream.
Here's where you don't want to fall off, right?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be ideal. To be honest, this truck probably wouldn't actually fall off as much as drive down.
Yeah.
Aggressively. With much malice.
God, it soaks those up so well. Air down is good too, Mike.
Well, think about that. Right there, we're getting actual bumps at 55 to 60 miles, 50 to 60 miles an hour. Okay, you just hit some actual, like, pretty decent bumps on the driver's side at 40 to 50 miles an hour. And yeah, the truck doesn't care.
In an unfortunate turn of events, we got a flat tire on our little off-road antics adventure, but yeah, such is life. And we are in a random parking lot fixing our tire. I should really consider getting a sponsorship from Home Depot.